Florida's panthers once roamed freely across the entire southeastern United States, from Arkansas to South Carolina. These sleek, elusive predators are a subspecies of the cougar and are uniquely adapted to Florida's wilds. They thrive in dense forests, swamps, and the tangled undergrowth of Florida's southernmost tropical ecosystems. But despite federal protections, the Florida panther is now clinging to survival in a shrinking range. Today, fewer than 200 individuals remain in the wild, confined to a fraction of their habitat. So what happened to this powerful cat that once ruled over forests and marshes without challenge? To understand the Florida panther's decline, we have to look at centuries of human expansion. When settlers moved into Florida, they cleared forests and drained wetlands for homes, farms, and roads. Every highway cut through panther habitat, fragmenting forests and isolating small populations from one another. This fragmentation created genetic bottlenecks, increasing disease, deformities, and the risk of long-term population collapse. Inbreeding led to kinked tails, heart defects, and even lowered reproductive success among the remaining panthers. With fewer new individuals entering isolated gene pools, natural resilience began to erode with every generation. Meanwhile, South Florida continued growing, transforming into a sprawling network of cities, golf courses, and highways. Wild spaces were paved over, fenced off, or reduced to disconnected green patches across the region. Panthers, being wide-ranging hunters, began venturing closer to roads and residential neighborhoods in search of food. This increased human-panther interaction resulted in a tragic and growing number of vehicle-related fatalities. Collisions with cars are now the leading cause of death for Florida panthers every single year. Even protected areas like Big Cypress National Preserve and Everglades National Park can't hold expanding panthers forever. Males often roam over 200 square miles, while females require expansive territory to raise cubs. With limited space, conflicts increase between panthers, with people, and against natural survival itself. Adding to their troubles, habitat loss also decreases the prey base these cats rely on. White-tailed deer, feral hogs, and smaller mammals are declining in overdeveloped areas with reduced cover. Without sufficient food, panthers become more aggressive, desperate, and vulnerable to disease and starvation. Another growing threat comes from disease, especially feline leukemia virus spreading among wild populations undetected. Conservationists have sounded alarms, noting unusual behaviors possibly linked to toxins, pathogens, or neurological conditions. Yet identifying exact causes takes time, funding, and access, which aren't always available or politically prioritized. Despite being Florida's official state animal, the panther receives less attention than more visible development projects. Infrastructure continues to grow around their territory, sometimes backed by economic interests over conservation concerns. Highways like I-75 and Alligator Alley have become deadly gauntlets for panthers crossing fragmented zones. Wildlife underpasses help, but only if panthers can find them and if they're properly maintained and monitored. One key success story involved introducing 8 Texas cougars in 1995 to restore genetic diversity. The plan worked. Hybrid offspring were stronger, healthier, and more resilient than the inbred native stock. However, that effort was a one-time solution, and genetic challenges are resurfacing once again today. Florida's rising sea levels and intensifying hurricanes also threaten the remaining lowland panther habitats annually. Saltwater intrusion from storm surges degrades freshwater marshes, critical for deer, rabbits, and other prey species. Warmer temperatures may also shift ecosystems northward faster than panthers can adapt or disperse successfully. Human development, meanwhile, keeps expanding southward, leaving less room for wildlife to safely retreat or recover. Many conservationists are now calling for bold steps, including setting aside more connected habitat corridors. Efforts like the Florida Wildlife Corridor aim to link fragmented lands and restore panther movement. But success requires cooperation between state governments, private landowners, developers, and federal conservation agencies long-term. Panthers don't recognize property lines. They need seamless landscapes that stretch across counties and water systems. Public support is vital, but many Floridians still don't realize how close panthers are to vanishing. Outreach campaigns aim to educate communities about the importance of coexistence and smart land use policies. Programs have offered incentives to ranchers who preserve panther habitat instead of selling to developers. Yet, in a state with booming real estate and tourism, such programs face uphill battles constantly. Wildlife agencies also face funding gaps, limiting their ability to track, tag, and monitor panther health. Each missing data point makes conservation harder, delaying action while problems quietly grow behind the scenes. Recent video footage and GPS tracking show panthers pushing farther north, searching for new breeding grounds. But unless we prepare those areas in advance, they may face similar risks all over again. Panther recovery depends on foresight, collaboration, and long-term commitment, not quick fixes or symbolic legislation. As apex predators, panthers play a vital role in regulating prey species and keeping ecosystems balanced. Losing them would create a cascade of negative impacts on biodiversity throughout southern Florida. It's a future we can avoid, but only if we act before their numbers drop too low. Conservationists say we're at a crossroads where we either double down on efforts or watch collapse unfold. Every cub born today could either be a symbol of recovery or the beginning of the end. The next few years will determine whether Florida's last panthers will survive beyond this fragile moment. They've adapted to hurricanes, habitat loss, and human presence. But even resilience has its breaking point. We have the knowledge, tools, and opportunity to preserve this remarkable predator for future generations. But it will take urgent action, brave decisions, and a united public voice demanding change now. The Florida panther's fate is no longer just about the wilderness, it's about what we value most.